Hi guys, and welcome to Reality with Tea. So today I'm actually sipping on some of my hot chocolate, okay? Even though it's a little warm today, but I just wasn't in the mood for tea. But let me know what you guys are drinking. So I want to quickly go over, I don't know how quick it's going to be, but Mike and Natalie, they have really hit a pretty bad point in their relationship. I mean, this week it got nasty, right? Now, I didn't talk about last week, so I'll go over that briefly. But basically, last week they went over to, Natalie suggested that they go see a psychologist or a therapist, right? A marriage counselor. And so he definitely was not interested at all. And Mike is saying, we need to be able to talk to each other. Why do we need a middle person? And a lot of people feel this way, and especially a lot of men feel this way because it's already hard for men to discuss their feelings and their relationship. So of course, going to a therapist isn't really going to make them feel very comfortable. But I can see, obviously, me being a therapist, I can see why Natalie wants to go, of course, and they should have gone weeks and weeks and weeks ago before she even got there. They should have prepared themselves for this move because in my opinion, she should have never come, right? So, Michael says, first she talks, they're sitting down and she talks about how she doesn't have a wedding dress. And he just says, I don't have a suit. And of course, that's very different. You can go get a suit from anywhere, right? The whole thing is, it's a big thing about a woman getting her wedding dress. We want it to be beautiful. We want it to be everything we dreamed of. And for him to be and what he does a lot is he's very dismissive of her feelings and things that are important to her. So things that are important to her, he just kind of like throws away, like, oh, that's no big thing. And I feel like he's not being honest with her. He does this. There's so many layers to what they're doing to each other, but he does this as a way. So number one is to get back at her because he's still upset at her and he's never dealt with that. But he also is avoiding the actual conversation of saying, I'm not ready to get married. And I don't feel now the way I used to feel about you, which is unfair to her, right? But we'll get there. So, he's not interested in therapy. I know at one point he said to her, let's go get drunk. Because, he likes to indulge in a little bit of beer every night, and that bothers her. And she's like, no, I don't drink. I mean, this is the most mismatched couple I think we have seen because she's a vegan. She works out. She's a city girl. She's educated. She's very social. And he is, he drinks. He eats meat. He doesn't want to stop. He doesn't work out. He's out of shape. He's not interested in his health so much. He is a backwoods type of guy. He lives, like she says, in the wood. So he's really in a rural area. He doesn't care to be out and on the town socializing. So I'm just trying to figure out, how did they even get together? I understand there's a spark, but I feel like I might have said before, a lot of these American men, they see these women and they're beautiful, of course. And it's like they think that they have something so special. I live in America. Doesn't matter what she's doing over there. She's going to want to come over here and be with me because I'm an American or I have something to offer. When it comes down to it, you really don't have much to offer these women. Natalie is actually dating Matt, in my opinion. Natalie, to me, I can tell that she's a very educated woman. Their conversations, I was listening to eBurn online, and I was like, she is correct. Their conversations don't even match up. Natalie is thinking about, she says, look at how big and beautiful the moon looks. And he says something like, oh, it's a big old ball of fire, when really it's the sun that's a big old ball of fire. But it's just everything. It's that type of conversation where one person sees everything so surface level and the other person is trying to think beyond, like they say in school, think beyond the text, think beyond what is presented to you, think about the message behind it, think about where this is going, what is the meaning to this, you know what I mean? She thinks on a higher level. She's more of a critical thinker than he is. He's a very, very simple guy. And I don't think he wants to be pushed out of that comfort zone or that comfort level. And I think that they should have known this before she got there. Things got really, really bad last time he was in Ukraine. So I don't even know why she even felt comfortable enough to get on that plane and come. But in her mind, and sometimes us women think we try to get it back to that initial spark, what it was like when we first got started. And that's just not going to happen for them. I don't see it. So they go to the therapist. And to me, the therapist didn't seem that confident in... Actually, let me move back. He went to the barber shop, right? Mind you, you can tell by looking at Matt's Mike's entire demeanor, his facial expression, his eyes, that he is a depressed, unhappy man. He just isn't, he just isn't happy, right? Goes to the barbershop, he's smiling. You know, the barber is cutting his hair. This woman that apparently he has a prior relationship with, you know, a friendship. And she even says at one point, let's, you know, she's like, you know, are you excited about this? You know, you guys shouldn't even be thinking about this. You're about to get married. And at one point she says, do you want to go on a date? But it seems like they would match better than he and Natalie. And that's what I said before. If you remember, I said, why doesn't he just go to the local shopping center that we saw, that little strip mall, find himself somebody, a cashier, a librarian, somebody that understands his simple life, his simple way of thinking, who would be fine staying in his trailer all day from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night, doing absolutely nothing, or preparing the house, preparing the meals for him, and just thinking that, you know, he is, I don't know, he's a king. I guess that's how he wants to be treated, not doing much but working, you know, because Natalie is not, this isn't fulfilling for her. This way of life is not her. And that is going to become more and more apparent as they try to make this thing work, and it doesn't work. So the barber convinces him to go to the therapist. Why not go? So he finally goes to the therapist, and they talk about communication being a big issue, arguing all the time, not being on the same page. And it comes down to it where Mike just says, you know, he asks her, why did you come here? And she says, because we fell in love. Again, she's thinking about in the beginning, we fell in love. And he says, you know, we have to be honest with each other. We're not in love anymore. And, you know, they're not happy. And outside, Matt is talking to the producers, and he says, you know, he talks about what his ideal would be. And his ideal would be to be married, have some kids, and pretty much a very simple life, right? And it's interesting that I knew before he said it, while he was talking, I said he's going to walk away from the cameras. And then whenever he starts to open up a little bit to the cameras or to the producers, he'll just say, I'm done with this, and walk away. Because him actually discussing those feelings, or maybe it's because of the camera, is too much for him, and he can't deal with it. He can't take it. So now this week, we see, you know, Mike is talking about Natalie, and he says, you know, he thinks that it's Natalie's past fears. Pretty much her inability to trust him is because of her past fears. And I'm still confused, like, why Natalie is still there. Because once somebody sat across from me and told me that they were no longer in love with me and didn't know why I was there, I would have packed up and left. But for some reason, she's still trying to keep this going. She's still trying to figure out how they can make it work. And it's almost like she doesn't hear the statement. She doesn't really hear. To me, that would sting, but that doesn't sting her for some reason. She still thinks that there's more there. There's more they can work with. And then we realize why. So she talks to a counselor by herself, right? And she talks about how she still feels betrayed about when he slept over at his best friend was a bride. He slept over at her house before the wedding. And then when Natalie called on FaceTime the next morning, she said they were both stoned. The girl was walking around half naked, about to get in the shower. She feels like something happened. She will not believe that he did nothing with this woman. He keeps saying that nothing happened. She was getting married the next day. We didn't hook up, the whole thing. But Natalie cannot trust him for whatever reason. So, you know, Natalie asked him again. She just asked him point blank about Sarah, the friend. And then he starts getting sarcastic because he's annoyed, and he's talking to the cat and this whole thing, which would annoy the crap out of me, because I'm talking to you and I'm trying to figure out this situation, and you're pretty much ignoring me and being sarcastic, and you're acting like you're so annoyed. Guess what? I don't have to spend my time trying to figure this out with you, which is what he keeps saying. Let's talk about it. Let's communicate. Let's figure it out. Then when it's time to communicate and figure it out, he shuts down, or you act like a damn jerk. And that would freak me out, which it did. Because then she starts yelling, you know, you're a cheater, you're a liar. He says that she's jealous. He says she's overly jealous. Even if he orders something in a restaurant, she's jealous of the waitress, right? And she's saying, you gave me reasons to be jealous because you betrayed my trust that I had in you. And so then, you know, she starts saying, I'm more beautiful than you, because of course she's talking about, you know, her shape and everything. And he says, and it just starts to get nasty. You know, your beauty is ugly. You think you are the shit and you're not. And, you know, she said, I think it was her that said, you know, you're ignoring me and we're here instead of working on it. And, you know, he just comes out and says that we don't fit together at all. I'm not ready to marry you. You don't like me. I'm just reading it. You don't like me. You're living in the past. And she says she feels what she hears him saying is, you want me to forget what happened or you won't marry me. She feels like him saying this directly is his way of manipulating her into saying, if you don't forget what happened, I won't marry you. That's what she is hearing. So they have an issue with, there's a miscommunication, because when he says something directly, she twists it and turns it in her head. To me, that's direct enough, again, for me to have packed my bags and been waiting in the airport. Okay. So he still says he doesn't understand why she doesn't trust him. And she's asking him, well, why don't you help me move through my past trust issues? And she says, she would feel secure if she had her ring back. And it's so interesting how long we've been dragging this ring conversation. I think the whole ring thing, it's so interesting how much they put into this material thing. I understand the ring means something, right? But it has nothing to do with the commitment that's behind it. So, like, I have an engagement ring. Sometimes I just got it, but I don't wear it all the time. Sometimes I forget it because I'm so busy hiding it from the kids that when I get up and getting dressed, I just leave it. It doesn't mean I'm no longer engaged or I don't feel the same commitment that I did when I said yes. You know what I mean? I don't think me or my fiance put that much emphasis, that much emotion into something material. I mean, he even told me it's not even about the ring. You deserve the ring, but it's about the commitment that we're making. It's about the marriage. You know what I mean? It's about our future life, So it's just interesting to me when people put so much emphasis into something material. I still wouldn't be arguing about this ring. I would be arguing or worried about where are we going? What page do we need to be on? The trust, the communication, the arguing, the blah, 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 not the ring so much. But this is something that they harp on. So he says he's not ready to give her the ring back, right? And she should not have taken it off. Remember, he's going to keep throwing this in her face for the rest of her life. And she says, so we're not engaged. And he said, no, we're not engaged. It's almost like she is smart enough to understand, but when it comes to this relationship, she's not getting, even when he's so direct, and I would probably take it more direct than he's trying to be, she's just not getting it, right? And so he says, no, if I gave you back the ring, that would mean everything is okay. And that's a lie. I understand what he's saying, right? She feels he's punishing her, manipulating her. And I believe he's doing both. And she says to him, why have me do all of this? Why have me come over here, cook, clean? We're still having sex if you're not ready to get married. Now, this is where I'm completely understanding her. She's saying, I'm not a toy. You should not have brought me here. It's not all about you. Way to go, Natalie. I'm on Natalie's side. If you feel this way, first of all, he was too scared to tell her not to come because he didn't want to hurt her feelings, whatever it was. He allowed her to come over here knowing he wasn't trying to marry her. You have me in here, like she said, she felt like a slave. You have me in here cooking and cleaning, doing all this stuff for you all day. I'm doing this, thinking that this is going to lead somewhere. This is going to lead to a healthy marriage, right? And excuse the sirens. I'm in New York City. It's a little hot. I had to keep the window open. And then you're still having sex with me. So how manipulative. You have sex with me, then the next morning you tell me that you're not into me. We're not ready to get married. You're not going to give me my ring back. You don't love me anymore. Number one, sweetheart, stop having sex with him. Number two, it is manipulative of him. And you are leading her on to continue to be intimate with her. And then at the same time, not want to fix any of your issues, not be open to it, and tell her that you're not ready to marry her. But you're also not taking the steps to get to that point. Let her know what she should do. At this point, you might have to spell it out. This isn't going to work. You need to head back to the Ukraine. But at the same time, I think that he wants to be here because maybe because she's an arm piece. I don't know. But when they talk about trophy wives, I don't think she wants to end up being a trophy wife. I also saw somewhere, and I usually don't like to talk about stuff that's happening outside of the show, but there are people saying that he's just trying to control her. And he made it so that she wasn't comfortable here because they have a large Ukrainian community right in Seattle, which isn't far from them. So why didn't he introduce her to people over there? She can't have any Ukrainian friends, something to make her feel more comfortable being in America. If this was long term, wouldn't you want her to be somewhere where she could say, oh, I'm close here. So, I feel more at home, so I'm not going to yearn to get home, So I'm still team Natalie on this. I can see where both of them are coming from. Of course, Natalie can be demeaning and inappropriate. And she says things when she gets upset, she can use that passive aggressive, and she goes with you're underclass, you're low class, you're fat, you're unhealthy, you're ugly, you're this and that. She has a nasty way about her as well. But in this moment, I'm team Natalie, but I do get him as well. Either way, tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll talk in the comments. Thank you. Reality with T. Bye-bye.